I'm Joe.
And we're Jen and Joe on the go.
So, Jen, what are we doing this time?
I don't know, Joe. This was your idea, and I think it's a great one.
Well, of course, because it was my idea.
A great idea would involve alcohol.
I know. I'm surprised I don't have a drink in my hand right now. Anyway, but this is really important.
Well, what is it? Are you going to share?
Yes. So, this week, Bob Chapek, the new CEO of Disney, made an announcement about streaming and blah, 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 blah. Okay, fine, whatever. The little bit that he talked about that didn't make as big of a headline or news is about how they're going to stay at 25% capacity for the parks.
And this is the first time that a CEO from Disney has actually stated what the capacity has been since the reopening of the parks.
I guess apparently there were rumors that he made it known to staff, but yeah, I guess this is officially official. Anyway, so the reason I wanted to talk about this, well, a couple reasons, but one is that we've had videos out. We were there in July and we talked about what we felt like the crowds were like in July. And now just here in September, we have the Magic Kingdom videos coming out from our trip just there last month. And we obviously noticed an increase in crowd levels in September compared to July.
Yes.
But we weren't sure where we were. Like in July, we went and we thought, this can't be 25% capacity. This seems like way too many people. I think we were expecting the crowd levels to be more like the after hours events. We thought, oh, it's going to be dead. We'll be able to walk onto everything. No worries.
Which we don't know what the capacity levels for those are, but all of our experiences doing after hours at Magic Kingdom and the Villains after hours and
all that. There's just fewer people.
Right, Animal Kingdom. I mean, everything's like virtually a walk-on. So I think that's what we were expecting in July, and it wasn't that.
And also, I think we were also expecting more separation between people. So fewer people means you could spread out a little more. And so we were a bit surprised by that. Anyway, but if you look at where the levels were there compared to September, obviously July was less. So when they say 25% of capacity, what exactly do they mean? The 25% of the capacity means the actual legal capacity, how many people Disney can allow into any one of the parks until it violates a fire code. So for Magic Kingdom, that legal capacity is 90,000 people.
That's a lot of people. I never would have thought it was that high.
I know, and the only times that, and during the holidays like Christmas and New Year's, that's really the only time that you'll hear them say they've shut the gates, that's it, they're not letting anyone else in because they reached their capacity.
Yes.
So
that's a lot of people.
That is a lot of people, I know. And wait till you get to this next number and you'll see how can they have 90,000 people in the park. So 25% of that 90,000 is 22,500. So right now Disney has to cap it off at 22,500.
And that's just Magic Kingdom.
Right, this is just Magic Kingdom. So not that they have to, but they've said 25%. So they're taking the reservation system, so they know exactly how many people will be coming through the turnstiles.
Right, because they don't have people park hopping and they don't have annual pass holders just coming in at will. You have to have a ticket and you have to have the park pass reservation.
Right. So 22,500. So you think, okay, well, how does that compare to the daily average in 2019? In 2019, pre-pandemic, they had a total of almost 21 million guests come through to Magic Kingdom throughout all of 2019. So that means that is, on average, 57,400 guests per day.
Wow.
So now, if they can accommodate 22,500 now, that's not that far off of the 57,400. That's actually 39% of last year's daily average.
Wow, that makes a lot more sense now.
So when they say, oh, well, we're at 25% of capacity, it makes it seem like, oh my gosh, they're really cutting back. They're not letting as many people in. But if they look at what their daily average was last year, 57,400 for their daily average coming in, 25% of their capacity ends up being 22,500.
So of course
that's not that far off.
So of course the park is going to feel more crowded just speaking Magic Kingdom, because you have less restaurants open.
Well, I was going to get to that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just looking at that, when you compare what we did in July and what we did in September, when you compare that to all the other times that we've gone, let's just say in 2019, because we went several times then, if the daily average for Magic Kingdom is 57,400, that seemed crazy, crazy busy at all those given times, right? This year was obviously much less than that. So the crowd levels this year are down. So if you look at something like Epcot, we don't have to go too much into the different parks, but just Epcot is their biggest park, and that legal capacity is 110,000 people.
That's insane.
110,000
That's
people
insane.
can actually make it into Epcot before they have to shut the gates. But in 2019, their daily average was only 34,000. So
Wow.
in Epcot, the daily average in 2019 was 34,000 people.
Which, so then if the capacity at Epcot, they can hold 110,000 people, then about 27,000 people would cap it off at the 25% mark.
27,500.
Wow.
Very good, Jennifer.
Thanks.
You got some good math skills.
I know.
Killer math skills there, baby.
So then, if what did you say the max number average for Epcot was last year? Then
34,000.
Wow. So that's only a couple thousand
Right.
extra.
Right.
Wow.
So when they say their
Wow.
25% of capacity is 27,500, that is really not that far
No.
off of what their daily
No.
average is from last year.
No. So that makes
So-
lot more sense.
Right.
So just talking Epcot and Magic Kingdom, of course it's going to seem more crowded than it actually is because you have less stuff open. You have less people waiting in
Right.
line for character meet and greets. You have less restaurants open, so less people are actually sitting down and having a meal inside. You have less quick service restaurants open. So, and even the festival booths, there's less booths open, and majority of those only open on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday for the
Right.
weekend because that draws the higher crowd. So that would make a lot more sense.
Also, then with the social distancing rules or
Yep.
guidelines, you have fewer seats on the rides and fewer seats in shows. They're running with empty seats or more empty seats. So you got less people actually going on these rides. And like you said, there aren't other things to distract guests or occupy the time so that they're going to be doing these other things. They're all going on rides. What else are they going to rides and eat, right? And then the eating part, because they're trying to push people to mobile order, that gets slammed during the peak meal times.
It does.
And so it makes it harder for people to order, or they have to wait longer before their food's ready. So, and then like you said too, you don't have as many restaurants and shops open. A lot of them are still closed, and that's simply to cut overhead, to try to reduce their costs. So then, like you had mentioned too, in July, the middle part of summer, but earlier when they opened, July and August, you had fewer AP slots available for annual pass holders to actually go to the parks, which means they wanted to try to have tickets for just regular paying guests.
Right.
Obviously,
Because they make more money
Right.
from someone who's coming from Indiana who doesn't have an AP pass
Right.
versus someone who lives in Florida and has an AP pass. They're going to spend less money
Right.
because they can go to the parks whenever they want. They're not going to buy as many souvenirs.
Right.
They're not going to eat out as
Right.
much.
And the AP, they've already paid.
Right.
Whereas the people coming from other parts of the country are going to have to pay now. Whereas, APs have already paid, so they can get into the park, in essence, for free. There's
Wow,
no
that
additional
makes
revenue.
just so much more sense.
So, also then, the earlier part of this, people were still nervous about traveling. Numbers in Florida were going up a bit in July, and people were still not into that mindset of, well, it's okay to travel. Or whether it's by plane or by car, they weren't going. And also, there's the thought of a lot of people were out of work. Perhaps maybe the money wasn't there. It takes a bit of planning, quite a bit of planning,
It does.
to figure out what you're going to do going to Disney. So it's not something that they could do quickly and easily.
And I think more people are traveling now because Disney has proven in the last 3 months what
Yes.
a great job they can do keeping people safe in the parks.
Right. So not only that, but as they move forward with what they expect to happen, they also did these recent layoffs because they're not expecting anything to change that drastically that soon. If the state of Florida is loosening some of the restrictions and allowing parks to open up a bit more or do more, that's one thing, but they still have to manage what they're doing with The money side of it.
And I believe Bob Chapek said, at least until the end of the year, there are no plans to increase capacity.
Right. So they need to manage the money side of it in regards to the capacity, but also they don't want to ruin what they've done so far. They have a really good track record.
Right. They don't want any setbacks.
Right. They don't want to sacrifice their success for what they've been able to do so far. They've been able to open safely, and everything has worked really, really well. There are fewer restrictions in Florida than California. Disney was able to open up. Universal opened up. So far, everything has been safe. You haven't had issues or problems. And yet in California, I don't know if it's because that population right in Orange County is greater. I'm not sure what the deal is in California. But in Florida, they've been able to do this successfully. And Disney doesn't want to risk ruining that by moving too quickly. So unfortunately,
and that's a smart call on Disney World's part to keep it steady, to keep people safe.
Right.
You know, and not increase the numbers because they could have a setback, and that would be bad for everybody.
Right. And so you can understand the layoffs, and it is what it is, and this is a whole nother...
It's a horrible thing.
It is. That's a whole other topic of conversation between people getting laid off and who's still getting paid or not, and executives getting paid. I don't know. That's a totally different subject. But
that's something we're not going to tackle.
No. I mean, I have no idea what's really going on with that. But this was interesting. So I got this information. There was an article from Motley Fool, which is a stock investing site. And, you know, I get Disney news because I have Disney stock and blah, 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 blah. So it just was interesting that they put this information together. So this is not coming from some gossipy, tabloidy...
Or Joel's not just pulling it out of his butt.
Yeah, they're definitely not doing that. It was actually some really good information, and I read it, and I thought, you know what? This would be good to share because we were confused about the numbers as well. So, yes, September was more crowded, but I think it's because people felt more comfortable about traveling. And then
in September
versus July. Mm-hmm. And then also you have travel agents that are promoting Disney because the time is good to go now. Really, when you think about it, we got very lucky at different points in time. This is the other thing I wanted to say too. Some days are going to be more crowded than others. Some days are going to be busier than others. We were there on Monday, that 1 week, and it was less crowded than Wednesday. When we were there on Wednesday, the morning was okay, but when we got to the middle part of the day, and we haven't shown these videos yet, those Wednesday videos are coming, but it did get more crowded. Kids are remote learning. They're doing schooling from wherever. So our thought was that, you know, they're
going
in the
school into the morning.
Yeah, in the hotel room.
And then they're like, all right, let's have lunch and go to the parks.
Yes.
And it makes sense. I mean, I think I would have done that when our kids were little. I'd be like, this is probably the perfect time to go to Disney because the kids aren't technically in school anyway. You can remote learn from anywhere. Yeah. You could sit in your car and remote learn.
As long as you got Wi-Fi.
Yeah, you could sit outside on your deck. So why not go to Disney or Universal? And So
that's what we noticed. When noon came, all of a sudden you saw more kids, more strollers, more people in the parks. Mm-hmm. Like, what the heck happened this afternoon? This morning was great. But certain days you will have...
the parks will feel more crowded.
Yeah, and then other days it won't. So even on that Wednesday, even though it was more crowded, we got lucky and did Seven Dwarfs Mine Train in 30 minutes.
We did.
So there are points in time where you can just take advantage of it. Other times it might be a little more crowded. But I think now, like our friend Ariane, who is a travel agent, she's been promoting Disney because now is a good time to go. That's another reason, because when we did these videos, we're going to sound hypocritical because when we did these videos, we said, I don't know, is now really the time to go? When you look at the numbers...
I still wouldn't go if I was a first-time visitor.
For the first time?
Or if this was my once every 5-year trip, I would not go. I would hold firm with that, saying it's just not a good time. It's not a good use of your money.
Everything.
You're not getting the full magical Disney experience. But if you go a lot, if you go a couple times a year, money's not really, you know, a factor in your trips. I would totally go now.
Yeah, because what you're saying is that you're not getting what you're paying for. You're not getting as much value for the dollar that you're spending because you are missing out on so much. But yeah, if you want to go because the crowds are less and it will seem for us, we've mentioned this before, it just was nice to be able to feel more relaxed going through the parks, doing whatever it is that we were doing because fewer people. So Yeah, I mean, I think I agree. If it's your first time going, don't. But if you've gone before and you want to just try to enjoy that Disney magic, as much
Just
of it as you
being in
can,
the parks and
right, with
and
fewer
being at
people.
a resort and
Yeah.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So anyway, so that's it. I mean, I just thought this was really interesting getting this information. I just wanted to share it. So
I think it was a great idea, Joey.
thanks, dear.
You're
I
welcome.
try. Sometimes I just try to be somewhat intelligent. I sometimes
Anyway,
fail miserably.
don't forget to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell because you don't want to miss any of Joe's brilliant knowledge and homework on Disney capacity.
Hey, Disney is our life, right? It's the majority of what we do right now.
It is.
That's all it is. Disney, Disney, Disney.
That's
Can't
okay.
wait for.
It's not a bad thing.
No, it's not a bad thing. I think you got to admit there's one thing that Disney has done right in the past year. One thing they've done really, really right in the past year, and it's coming back October 30th.
The Mandalorian!
Yep.
All right, guys.
All right. We'll talk to you later. Don't forget to like and subscribe.
I said
Hit the
that.
little bell for notifications. Did you say that?
Oh my God, yes.
Really? I must have been thinking about Disney at that time. I just
You
totally.
want to plan another trip? That
That
means yes.
All right. Talk to you guys later. Bye.
Bye.